Hello and welcome to the next episode of From Stress to Success Blueprint. And today I have an amazing guest, and she is Leah Skurdal, and she is Resilience Guide, an author and transformational facilitator who helps heart-led leaders to manage stress and navigate change with grace. Through the body awareness, improvisational movement, we all need that, and intuitive practices, she empowers people to reconnect with their inner calm. I really need to introduce her to you because it's all about calm, remember? And she leads from soul aligned clarity because we are all confused in these days, right? We need more clarity for sure. And Leah is a COO and event leader at the Wellness Universe and the author of a Seeking Serenity, How to Find Your Inner Calm and Joy. Well, hello, Leah. How are you?
Hi, Lolita. Thank you so much for having me. Delightful to talk about calm and finding that natural state of inner calm and well-being. It's so necessary right now.
And I want to thank you so much for being a cornerstone of the Wellness Universe. And those who following me, they see that every month now for 2 years, I had classes online that were hosted on the Wellness Universe launch. And Leah has a lot of classes as well. And we also co-authored the books, and we just all in the circles of Wellness Universe. So if you have never heard of her, you definitely will see all of the description links and how you can find her. And definitely we'll talk about that later at the episode. But I want to share a little story how it was the first time when I met Leigh in person. And I was going to the Wellness Universe, the first retreat. And I was at the airport. I just landed. I went outside and I was waiting for the shuttle. And on the bench, there were three ladies sitting and they had a great conversation. And I just kind of like intuitively felt that those are the ladies that are going to the same retreat. Although there was like a long trip to shuttle and getting from one bus to another one and all this. And I was right. And Leah was one of them. Do you remember that day?
I absolutely remember that, Lolita, because all of a sudden this bright light showed up, started chatting with us like, oh, we need to know this woman. She's one of us. We're kindred spirits.
I am so happy that we have the opportunity to find other people. And I'm very inspired for what the things that you do. And the things that I read about intuitive guidance and clearing and the body. And so when somebody meets you in person, what is that you tell them that you can help them with?
As a resilience guide, I help especially heart-led leaders, teachers, healers, change makers respond to stress in ways that improve their relationships and expand their impact. So how do we get back to center when the stuff of life, the craziness of life is pushing us into the extremes? We can get back to being grounded so we can bring our best selves into the world, into all our relationships.
When somebody is now listening and they say, well, I'm not a leader, I'm nobody, I'm just a mom at home. And I'm like, that is the leader. I think the
Exactly.
family is number one leaders because the children always look at the parents. That's how we learn about life, about the parents, how we become an adult. So those who listening in and thinking, I'm not a leader, no, you are. You definitely are. So when you said touch about stress and all this, and this is what this podcast is about, would you mind sharing some personal stories? How did you become such a leader that now you can help other leaders?
I was a stressed out professional, and then I became a stressed out stay-at-home mom. And I didn't know that how much kids would annoy me. There is like it's difficult to be around little kids. They take a lot of energy. So I had a lot more compassion for my mother after I had to deal with little kids. And there was one day in particular, my I was holding the baby and the 3-year-old's hanging on my leg. My husband's walking out the door and I'm crying. You stay home. I'll go to work instead. And we had decided that I would stay home with the kids. So like, okay, something has to change here because it was too much. It was too much. So that was my turning point. I changed the way I approach stress and yeah, I changed the way I approach stress, and I'll come back to that.
Yeah, well, no, let's just keep going because now I'm interested. What is that? Okay, so the moment that you realize, okay, I cannot do this anymore. What did you do? What was your first step towards that direction?
Well, the first step on that day was we sat down in the peace chair and
Oh, you had a peace chair. What is
we
that?
had a peace chair. That's right. And we would just sit there every day for a short amount of time. This is my quiet time. This is mommy's God time. We're not going to talk about that right now. We'll talk about that later. This is mommy. And I learned to meditate with two little kids in my lap. Yeah. Yeah, they're a little squirrely, but okay, this is our quiet time right now. And so that was interesting in itself. That practice of having everybody, we're going to just be quiet now for a few minutes. And that was, sometimes it just, that was the best I could do. And just going into the bathroom, this is, I'm closing the door now. And if people have been around their little kids, like, okay, I'm going potty now. And that was you, if you're lucky, you can get 5 minutes in the bathroom. But luckily, that phase passes, and then you can get more time to yourself. And so I would just take 10 minutes a day, start setting up 10 minutes. I get up earlier than the others, just make sure I had some quiet time some time for myself. That's step number one.
And were you at that time listening to some radio stations or tapes or whatever it is, where you had some gurus that you were following or reading books that inspired you to take that step?
Well, before children, I've been practicing awakening your light body for years and years and years. And that's now my 30-year practice. And so I had gotten off track and I got back on track doing my own meditation work, my own inner work, and following the discipline that I knew how to do. And there are many different disciplines, and you can follow the discipline that works for you.
So when you were growing up, did you get some guidance from your parents, from your authorities, to start some meditations and having practices?
Oh, no, no, I would not say so. No, not at all. No, and I think about stress management in my family. I grew up in an alcoholic and dysfunctional family, and my dad had 9 years of sobriety when he died. That was great. But when I was a younger kid, you know, he would drink by himself. He was never really angry. He would just go inward and be quiet. And so there was a lot of silence in our house. And I would learn that actually that was one thing I learned. Nobody talked about what was going on. And so I would learn to put up my little antenna and kind of step into the room and kind of feel into the energy of what's going on. I think a lot of us intuitives have to learn those skills of feeling into what's going on, but that can be stressful because there's a disconnect, there's a dissonance between what people say outside, but what you feel, what you know inside is really going on. And that in itself is a type of stress. So we have to learn to trust our heart knowing we know what we know, what we know in our heart, and trust that that is true. So just because nobody said anything, I knew there was something going on anyway. Yeah. So then you learn to anyway, but nobody talked about stress management. So that would be amazing to learn that as a kid.
I remember when my dad was drinking. Again, I learned how to be very empathic because of that. You have to be feeling like, okay, is it safe to come out? Is it, am I supposed to be a comedian now? Am I supposed to go to a different room? What's going on? But I remember even if I had some other friends in the neighborhood that they, mom or dad, were drinking, nobody will be talking about that because it was like you do not air your dirty laundry. It's like we're just acting like everything is fine. And even into my adult life, we were continuously acting like none of those stories that happened to me when I was a child with my dad, drinking, and he was very violent when he would come back home drunk. He would just throw things um, and it's I am so happy that right now more and more of us opening up to saying, it's okay to acknowledge that those things were happening because when you're a child, it's not really not your fault, but we still kind of believe that we should not be doing that because it's just so shameful.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, kids will misunderstand what's going on and think that it's their fault. I did. I thought that somehow if I was more perfect, then things would be better. Yeah.
Where I noticed that a lot of us who grew up in the environments like that, we become this perfectionist. And I heard from uh, Dr. Gabor Mate, he said that if you don't feel that you appreciate and in love for who you are, just the way you are, without doing anything, then you become um, that you have to constantly perform and you need to be useful. So then you become like the best student, the best of everything, and you keep on producing, and so you will not be discarded. Did that happen to you?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That I will claim that one for sure. If I'm just perfect enough, then it will make everything better. And that, yes, that if I'm good enough, then I will be loved. If I'm good enough, if I'm perfect enough, if I get straight A's, if I do all the right things, then I'll be good enough. Yes, and I won't be discarded. I will be part of the pack. Uh,
Do you have siblings that you were growing up with?
yeah, I have one younger sister.
And how, so when you were older sister, were you also feeling that you have to take care of her own well-being as well? Become like a parent?
Um, in some ways, yes, because I was the perfect student and she wasn't a perfect student. And so nobody talked about that either because we wouldn't want to make her feel any less than. So I didn't get the accolades that I wanted because we didn't want to make my younger sister feel in any way less than. So we just pretty much ignored that I did well. So that if I try harder, then maybe I could get some recognition.
Hmm. So, I know that when I was studying to write my books about stress management and childhood trauma, I came across where it states that it's a great idea if the child that's growing up in the dysfunctional family like that has some sort of support that is a different person from not from the immediate family but outside the family. For example, like a grandmother or an aunt or a neighbor or a teacher that the child can feel like in a safe harbor, that they can relax and they can be seen and appreciated. Did you have anyone in your life like that?
Not really. Not really. And I have two daughters, and I have been very conscientious about surrounding them with wise women. And so they have powerful adult role models outside of their parents. And I have been very intentional about that. And I keep thinking, gosh, if I had had those wise women and wise men role models, would things have been different for me? I don't know.
Well, but then we'll not have you the way you are. So I appreciate it, even though it looks painful in your past, but I still appreciate you just the way you are.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, so someone now, they can be thinking, listening in and thinking, okay, well, I'm a parent, I have kids, and happens that those kids driving me insane as well. What would you recommend someone how they can start with their sanity when they stress management?
Sanity with kids. Again, that first step is to create sacred time for yourself. Well, I'm going to say there are a couple steps. The first is to maybe honor your body. So to nourish your body with good, decent food. I was really surprised that when I started eating better, I started feeling better. Like, who knew, right? When I ate donuts, I felt like a donut, but I didn't know I didn't know that. When I started eating fresh fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes, and like I started raising the vibration of the food that I put in my body, then I started raising the vibration of my body and I started feeling better. I didn't know that was a thing. Like now we know, but I didn't know then. So that's number one is take care of your body with nourishing yourself, drinking enough water, getting some movement, some exercise, but then also nourish your soul. Give yourself that sacred space to listen because the answers are inside you. And nobody can tell you your answers, but you have to create that space to listen, to hear. Praying is talking to God, and meditation is listening. So give yourself that time to listen for your right answers. Because the wise part of yourself knows what you need if you take time to listen. So those are equally important. Nourish the body, nourish the soul.
So when if somebody says, "Oh, you don't understand, I don't have time for this," what can you tell them?
Well, first off, can you take 10 minutes? Take an extended period of time in the bathroom, shut the door, grab your book, your journal. I have journals in my drawer, in the bathroom drawer, and maybe even I have actually a book in the bathroom too that has inspirational writings. Just start where you can. Start with 10 minutes, first thing in the morning or just before you go to bed, and rewind your mind, like let go of the stress of the day, think through some things you were grateful for. So even writing down 3 things today that I was grateful for, that that triggers your mind as you go to sleep to think about gratitude so that you can wake up the next morning feeling that higher vibration. I used to I'd go to sleep thinking about all the things I was stressed about. And then in the morning, I'd pick up from the same spot and just continue going around and around and around thinking about all the things I was stressed about. So that has been a really important tool is to go to sleep thinking about my gratitudes, thinking about my blessings, thinking about all the positives in my life. And if something didn't go as I wish it had, then rewrite that so that I can think again, be thinking about all the way that I prefer things to be, so my mind can work on those when I'm sleeping and wake up in that higher vibe.
One thing that, well, there's lots of things that always helping us, but I love the idea how, especially for those that, for example, me used to be, I worry a lot about the future, about the past, about conversations I had. It's just constantly the mind is keep on analyzing everything and preparing for the future because naturally I'm a control freak, and the freak I'm saying from a loving place because when I came from this environment where I didn't feel that I was um, feeling safe, and I was not trusting my parents because my dad will be coming back in the middle of day all drunk, and here we are, we don't know what's going to happen. So control, it was very important to me because that's my survival mechanism. So when I will start worrying so much, I love that the great tool is the just dumping everything on a piece of paper or like in a journal, just writing down all of those worries that we have, all those thoughts, whatever. And the second thing that also I love doing is, and I recommend to my clients, is to set a day and a time and like put it on a calendar where you say this is the time to worry, and then all the week. And so let's say Thursday at 6 p.m. is the time to worry. And then all week as I'm going through the day, and then I feel like I worry about something, that does not need immediate. resolution, I say, oh, you know what? I worry about whatever something is going to happen in the month. I will go and make a list, like I write it down, and uh, and then because I put that on a piece of paper, I honor my own feelings. I honor that, like, okay, I'm paying attention to this. I'm creating a space for myself, and as soon as I put it on the paper, I tell myself I'm not gonna worry now. I'm gonna worry then. So I'm not gonna forget about it. And then I keep on going. And through the whole week, I accumulated a grand list of things that I was worrying about. And I found it was so interesting to see that when I finally sit down that Thursday, 6 p.m., I started reading through the list, and there were a lot of those worries there that looked very silly to me by the time, because we take the time to process the emotions, the energy, and then I was like, okay, what am I gonna do about this? And when we come from not catastrophizing point of view, but coming from a different energy now and other things, then we can manage those emotions, we can manage those worries, and come up with some sort of plan. So that was one thing that how I managed my running mind. Do you have any tips that can help others to manage their running thoughts?
That is brilliant. I love that idea, and I haven't done that one yet, so I'm going to try that in the future. Although my fear is that I'll worry about that I've got this time on my calendar that I have to worry. So maybe I'm like, okay, no, we're just going to set that aside until then. All right, I'm going to try that. That is good. So another thing that I do is bring awareness from head to heart. And imagine breathing through your heart as if you have a nose in the center of the chest. And often our mind is like right here in front of our thinking part is right here between the eyebrows. And if we bring that, one way is to bring it down to the heart and then allow that energy to flow inward. And I would call that as if there's a doorway behind your heart in front of the spine that would open inward, and allow the energy to flow inward. That's where some people can access the wise part of yourself, that soul self. Follow that spark of light inward as if that's the doorway to your soul. And then allow that part of yourself to answer the questions. That wise part, knowing that there is a wise part in there, someplace in your psyche, you have the wisdom, and asking that part to solve the problem. And so if I just uh, like give here, wise part of me, the highest and best version of me who knows what the solution is, you work on this right now. And doing that just before going to sleep is actually also helpful, because then you might wake up in the morning with a solution.
Oh, I love that. Do you have like a stress management toolbox that, let's say, you my example always, you're driving somewhere and you get stuck in traffic and you're late, and then a lot of people get all agitated and annoyed and angry. What is that you do when you get, some situation just, just falls on you? Do you have some stress management toolkit that you can share with us?
There are a couple things. The first thing that came to mind was we were driving to an orthodontist appointment, and we were in rush hour traffic, and there was lots of snow. And so we were driving about 10, 15 miles an hour. And it took us an hour and a half to get there with that normally would take 35, 40 minutes. And I was stressed, and I called her. I know, sorry, we're stuck in traffic. But it, I don't remember if it was my idea or if it was my daughter's idea, but she put on Beatles tunes. And so we're in the car and we're singing all the Beatles tunes we could. And all of a sudden, boop, we just flipped and we were having a good time. So doing something, sometimes that's what it takes, is that external focus of I go for a walk, or now if stuck in traffic, um, then creating start focusing on something else, like a song, but also focusing on my breath, focusing on something on listing 10 gratitudes, 10 things I'm grateful for, or that because that particular being stuck in traffic thing is that can be annoying, especially if there's a time commitment. But recognizing that, okay, there is nothing I can do about this right now because there's a big piece of equipment in front of me and I have to turn my car off. Okay, there is a higher plan going on here. In any case, so sometimes that's where you just have to let go. But then there are the times when you can do something about it. And I notice I use uh, I use my eyes to focus on something beautiful. So what is catching your eye, becoming oriented around the space around you? What are three things that I see beautiful right now? I see a picture, I see art, I see the reflection of the light on something, and that strikes me as beautiful. I see a color that is captures my attention. And then you listen to the sounds. Oh, there's a bird song over there. Oh, I hear the furnace fan. Oh, underneath there are things that I can hear. So looking for those things that will take your attention off that particular moment and again find something beautiful.
Oh, I love that. Do you recommend any physical activities to manage stress?
I'm sorry. Can you say it
Do you,
again?
do you have any physical activities that you recommend?
Oh, absolutely. I call it body soul movement. So in the way that athletics or yoga or tai chi or something, there's a one way to do it. You do, and your mind learns how to do something, and then your body follows along. Well, with body soul movement, it's the opposite. You let your mind be on the shelf and be in observation. And you maybe notice that space along your spine from the back of the head down your spine, and then notice, how does your body want to move when you are noticing that you have a body? And just know, and that's a way that my body will unwind a pattern. Or if there's something, you got a glitch in your shoulder, like, okay, hello, glitch. What, how can we unwind that pattern? What's going on? Or sometimes I'll ask that a pain, okay, pain, what do you need me to know right now? And allow the body to, again, to unwind the pattern. Let the body wisdom lead. Have you done that before? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, and I am very happy to hear about that. That's new thing. I heard about that you can talk with your body and ask, okay, why are you hurting? What do I need to know about this? But I love how you're explaining that.
Oh, thank you. And so this is again one of the things that I do as a form of meditation. Put the timer on for 10 minutes or 20 minutes if you have that amount of time, either with music or without music, either dance music or just no, just a gentle rhythm, or again, just silence and listen to the furnace fan. But then notice your body's inner rhythm. How does it want to move? And as soon as I do that, like I start, I'll, I'll yawn. I want to stretch. Like what? Well, how does your body respond when you give it permission to unwind?
I think I also use and recommend tapping, just like tapping all around the body, or just standing and swinging on your toes and just shaking off. That's also
Yeah.
a very good practice, I think.
Yeah, swinging and tapping. Oh, sometimes I tap my heels on the floor. Just bounce my heels on the floor as hard as I can. And that is, again, it's moving your chi, moving your body's energy up along the spine.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So, I asked you a question about, do you have a stress management toolbox for whatever something happens to you right away? But I'm a believer that we have to do some things every single day, like a maintenance, for us to stay away from as much as possible stresses in our lives. Do you have this maintenance routine that you live by, and no matter what happens, you still keep up with?
Absolutely, absolutely. My spiritual practice in the morning is now become non-negotiable. And I actually set my alarm early at 5 a.m. and I'll get up sometime after that. Sometimes I'm stretching in bed for a little bit and thinking about gratitudes, thinking about a positive, uh, thinking about all the positives first thing in the morning, as when you're in that theta brain state, like what do I want to create? But then when I get up, I do my um, I listen to something positive, upbeat while I'm exercising. I'll do yoga or weightlifting, and then I do my meditation and do some journaling, some writing. And that, again, that's just the way that I start the day. And sometimes I have 2 hours to do that, depending on how early I get my butt out of bed. But sometimes, even if it's just 30 minutes, I still need that time to really focus inward. And again, that has made such a huge difference in my life. It, to create that sacred space. Because I notice well, in the past, I noticed if I fell off that wagon, then after a few days, I would notice that, I didn't feel so great. But I have one more tip about that, and that is I've started a new prayer routine that has and I've just started it in the last few months, so it's still fresh, and it is still and I'm just astounded at how big of an impact it's making. And that is that I'll start with a declaration of, I know that the divine is expressing uniquely in me, as me, through me in this now moment. I know that the divine is in all things, all times, everywhere at once. And I know that God, the infinite, is prosperity consciousness. I know that the divine and I are one. The divine is flowing through me. Therefore, prosperity consciousness is flowing through me in this now moment. And I am choosing to allow that highest and best version of myself, to that soul self, to be present now. And when the highest and best version of me is flowing through, I feel good. I feel happy. I feel grateful. I feel generous. I feel grounded. I feel prosperous. I feel abundant. I feel enlivened. I feel confident. I feel powerful. I feel loved. I feel beloved. I feel blessed. And I just go on and on like that. And 17 seconds is what it takes to like flip the switch. And then, but if I can continue that on for an entire minute of just feeling into, oh, I feel blessed, I feel whole, I feel alive, that has made a huge difference in my life. And I'm kind of astounded that it's taken me this many years to figure that out, but also that it actually seems to work.
You know what? I love this, and I also realize many times when I have clients who come for stress management, and they expect that because stress is impacting our lives so heavily, that we need to have heavy duty management tools to manage that. But simple thing like this, what you just described, can be a huge difference, and it doesn't have to be so complicated. I say stress management should not be stressful, and I just happy that you explained this that somebody, this gratitude, this just rampage of appreciation. I think those who are following Abraham Hicks, they will can recognize that terminology. We can be sitting in traffic, we could be strolling around, we can be in the grocery shopping, we can be walking with kids, we can do anything really, being in the shower. And I just think about what you just said and just start from understanding who we are, what we are, and getting in that appreciation. I mean, that is so easy to do. It's just the key actually is just to do it and understand like it doesn't have to be so difficult and complicated. I love that you shared that.
Well, and that I've listened to Abraham Hicks for a long time, and it would be in my mind. But when I finally started practicing that rampage of appreciation and being present in the moment with, oh, when I'm in the flow of the highest good, I feel good. I feel happy. And like being that, that has made a huge difference. And I'm just, yeah, I want to keep, I want to keep that up. I want to keep that up, keep up that high vibe, because then I'm attracting in things that come back as a higher vibe. And and I'm aware of that. I noticed that. Oh, I attracted that. Wow, look at that. That's cool.
Everything I think starts from making decision that we're going to do something. It's like somebody right now could be listening all to this point right now, and we already shared some great tips. But somebody can say, you know what, I'm gonna try, and some of them can say, okay, yeah, I'll try one day. But it's like buying a cookbook. You buy the cookbook, but the dinner is not gonna appear on the table. I mean, you still need to cook it, no matter how beautiful that book looks like. And just having an intention that saying I'm going to do just something small for me today, that is huge, I believe, because then we show to ourselves that we're not going to abandon ourselves. We're going to honor our feelings, so we'll accept the way we are. And just being there for ourselves, it will fill us enough that we also can be loving and supporting to other people. And I know a lot of my clients, and like even myself included, when I started this self love, self development journey, I felt like I was not worthy enough to help myself, even because I came from a dysfunctional family where I was thinking, I have no trust towards myself as well. And so that helps to help you with self-esteem and self-trust, because when the moment you decide that you're going to do something for yourself and you allow yourself to be better even for 5 minutes, and it's okay for you to feel good, then you build every single day. The longer you do something, the more you have trust in your own abilities. And I think that when you finally know that you can trust yourself, that means whatever happens tomorrow, whatever stressor is going to happen tomorrow, you know that you will be able to handle that. And that's, I think, how ultimately we manage our stress, through self-love and knowing that we'll be okay.
I love that so much, Lolita. The way you said that is just so spot on, that the more we practice self-love, then we learn to trust ourselves, and we trust ourselves to be able to handle what comes up in the world. And that is such a valuable skill. There's so much craziness going on in the world right now. And the more that we can go inward and find that place where we have the wisdom and we learn to trust that wisdom to guide us, that's what's going to get us through this crazy transformation that is happening right now.
So you one of my gurus, because you have so many things and therapies, and you've been for years, like you said, in the self-love and helping yourself and inspiring others to be in a better place. What about your kids? You mentioned you have daughters, and do they listen to you? What about what the legacy you're leaving to them like? What about that stress management and their life?
Oh my gosh. Well, my daughters are very, very wise. They came in with wisdom, and maybe I was able to like let that wisdom in them shine already. And so I learn from them every day. And they're wise. And here's one funny example. My daughter and I went on a mom-daughter trip to Disney World and went on a roller coaster. And I am not a roller coaster person, but I had to go along, right? And there's one point where there's a flash photo, and the this roller coaster takes off like at 60 miles an hour, right? And it goes up and down and around and around. And so this flash photo caught me with hunkering down. I got my eyes closed. I'm all tight. I've got everything squished together. And then there's my daughter, got her eyes open, her was wide, a smile, huge smile. It's like, well, you know what? It's the same experience, but two totally different perspectives on the same experience, right? And so that has been one of my teachers. And I have a choice of how I'm going to perceive that experience. I get to choose. And that has been helpful, is to notice that other people have a different perspective and they're not stressed by this situation.
And I think honoring our own choice and having empathy towards ourselves, to saying that's okay if I choose a different experience and not come. I noticed that a lot of those who start on the self-development journey, they, especially those that are beating themselves up and want to be perfect and always the achievers, running towards that horizon, they're working on the self-love, and they very hard on themselves, like, oh, I didn't do meditation today, or how. And I'm like, you're just defeating the whole purpose. It's like you're supposed to be loving towards yourself, but I think it's very hard for us to love ourselves, because if we come from the environment that we didn't really see what the true love is, the true acceptance is. And like, for example, when I was growing up, uh, for me, uh, pain equaled love, because, oh, if somebody is abusing me, that's mean that's they giving me attention. So I mean, that's what I thought as love is. And so it's very important for those who starting on the self-love journey, just to have compassion and just look at ourselves as a best friend. It's like, okay, well, what would I tell my best friend? Will I be too hard on themselves, And I say we cannot bulldoze ourselves into success, because if you're already pushing yourself, that's definitely you stressing yourself out. Many times we stress ourselves out just by thinking the way we talk to ourselves. And I was in shock when I read somewhere that they said you talk to yourself the way your parents were talking to you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true, because my mom was very hard on me and always very criticizing. And that's exactly how I was talking to myself. So, for those who are still listening in, and if you're starting something or already on the journey, please be kind to yourself. Definitely recommend that.
Yes, that is so true. And now you're reminding me that I had that moment of self-awareness when I had created a video, and I, as an adult, and I showed it to my mom, and her the first words out of her mouth were something critical. And I went home and I sat in my car for a while. Like, I wasn't crazy. I really was criticized a lot as a kid. I didn't imagine it. And yet the criticism wasn't, it wasn't as abusive as what you experienced. It was just that subtle, it's not good enough. Like, nothing that I did was ever quite good enough. Couldn't get over the line. I know, like, our family joke was my granny would say, "Oh, that wasn't half bad." She couldn't say it wasn't good. It wasn't half bad. So like that was just how that was just anyway. So yeah, can't be good enough. And so that, just as you're saying, that self-love is so important. And how do you talk to your best friend? I used to say things to myself that I would never say to a friend. And now that's one of my mantras now, is I treat myself with the same love and care as I treat other people. Yeah.
I love that. So we can talk about that for hours, but we coming close to an end. And I want to ask you, for those who listen in now and those who, that's the first time they know about you, where should they go? What should they get of whatever you're working on? What your projects? What your books? What are you about, and how you can help them?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, I have a class coming up that is called Grounded Presence. It's for leaders, teachers, healers on how to be that stability so that for yourself, but also for the people around you, so that you can navigate the stresses of change with grace, and then again, be that inspiration for other people. And there are a lot of leaders, teachers, healers, change makers, whether you see yourself as that, maybe you're the person in the office who people turn to. Maybe you're the parent who is, you keep your stuff together so that the kids stay stable. Or, you're the one people call on. Well, okay, how do you manage that for yourself so that you can be a presence for other people? So that's what this grounded presence is, and it's practicing that improvisational movement so that you can move that energy through you and not let it get stuck. Sometimes when energy gets stuck, that's when we create pain in our bodies. So we'll use that as a tool. We'll use journaling as a tool. We'll do a guided meditation. And that class is, there'll be a link in the chat, a link in uh, Lolita will share a link for that. And then there's this free access code. The class is $49, but you get a free access code. So when you can click on the link and then put in the access code to join for free. And then I also have a series of meditations that, 20, 30 minutes, give yourself 30 minutes of time to just sit and reflect for just a short time to tune back into that wise part of yourself. And we'll give you that link as well that you can listen to whenever it works for you.
And are you on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, on
Yes,
social media?
yep, yep. My name is in my links. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, and I don't follow Instagram as well, but I'm on there also. And yes, and certainly I'm going to have a 3-part class coming up. If you'd like to be on the waiting list for when that starts, you get a 50% discount on that. And then so you can just email me to learn more, and we'll put you on the waiting list for that session.
Wow, that's a lot. For those who are wondering what they should start, that's lots of choices. So definitely, somebody who's still listening in, you definitely need to do at least one here, because we shared so many tips today that make yourself a promise that you're going to do something today or tomorrow for sure. Schedule up and honor your own needs so you can love yourself and you can fill in yourself and you can help others that are around you. And also, I will add, for those who listening in, and I know you have a class coming up for leaders, and somebody thought of themselves, well, I'm not a leader. Maybe you should become a leader. Maybe you need to start to learn how to manage your energy so you can become someone like a lighthouse, that you can be someone inspiration in the way wherever you are. And I think when we find enough courage to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to make intention and I'm going to become better, and I will allow myself to be the light, and plenty of resources out there. And I definitely recommend you go and follow Leah. She is amazing, as you can tell. And I just want to say thank you so much for spending, this time together, and thank you for sharing your stories. And I just love your tips that you gave us, and I definitely looking forward to us chatting again.
Oh, thank you so much, Lolita. I love that you said to ask people to have the courage to be the light. That's exactly true. Thank you so much for having me.